That's
Welcome to a Friday night episode of Cat Space. It is Friday, TGIF. I am Cat. This is Buckets and our dear friend, lifelong friend, brother, and the best human being of all, Leon. How are you?
look at that, man. She's sucking up to me already, and it works too.
I know. You haven't even paid her yet. Like, what's the deal? Like, seriously, we've lowered our standards.
She's the one that's not the other way around.
So tonight's podcast is actually a light-hearted, fun, creative process from the three of us. Actually, I threw this one to Leon, but it's a great creative process. Tonight, we're going to do something fun for you all. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe when we load this to YouTube. When you go to Catspace, it says subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. There's a bell. So click on all. This way you can receive content and podcasts from us at Catspace. If there is a topic you'd like for us to cover, leave us a comment or hit us up on Facebook. And we have a Twitter, twitter.com/Catspace podcast. Let's get started. So tonight's episode is about Simpsons predictions. Okay. So,
Absolutely love The Simpsons.
so do I. So first question is, were The Simpsons spot on when it came to the coronavirus pandemic, aka the Osaka, Japan flu?
Well, kind of. I would say they predicted it. The only problem was that they mentioned the Japanese flu as opposed to the Chinese flu.
Or
Or Chinese virus, I suppose. So I think they were right about a pandemic. So I guess you could say that might be COVID, related, I suppose. But then again, there were so many other pandemics around about that time anyway. So I'd have to give 50-50 on that. What do you think, Leon?
Yeah, what do you think?
I definitely go 50-50 on that one. Now, it originally happened in the episode Marge and Chains, the one that you're thinking of, but they called it the Osaka flu, which amazingly enough turned out to be the coronavirus nearly 20. Actually, it's nearly 30 years later. I can't believe that was predicted around 1993, and it was like 28 years later that actually happened.
Yeah.
But it was 20 years later, it's come up as the coronavirus. So yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
Now, for me, I think they accurately and eerily predicted the coronavirus because, as you said, episode Margin Chains, you see everybody opening up a gift box, which was supposed to be a juice blender, and inside was the germs. And
Yes.
how I think they not just predicted the coronavirus, I think they predicted how it spreads in the community from each person to each person to each person. And everybody starts getting sick in the community and it travels from one home to the next, to the next, to the next. I think they've done two good things, which is they've predicted the coronavirus pandemic and they've predicted how it actually spreads. What do you both think?
Okay, so there are a lot of rumors how COVID-19 has actually spread. So there were things like it has been spread by bats, it's been spread by humans. I think they probably got a little bit right where it's spread by mosquitoes, because if you actually think about it, if you look at Ross River fever, that's actually spread by mosquitoes. So that's probably what it was kind of based on before COVID-19. But yeah, they kind of got it correct when it was spread from an animal to, or an insect in this case, to a human as a possible way it could have spread. So yeah, they probably got that right.
Leon?
I think what was funny about this, the virus that we're talking about in The Simpsons, is they actually started traveling like cars would down the street. It would stop at a stop sign while another passing virus passed through, and then it went to a green light and it continued on. Not taking into consideration, it's not. Is it airborne? Because that would seem in The Simpsons when they had it driving down the street, that would indicate that it might be airborne. So if it's proven that coronavirus is airborne, then the Simpsons would have predicted another one.
Well, that's three predictions in one hit, I reckon. Next question.
It'd be amazing if it was actually true, though.
Did Did The Simpsons eerily predict 9/11, or was it a fluke of imagery? And we're talking about such a prophetic predicted.
So you're talking about the magazine that said
Yeah,
9/11.
9/11.
Okay, so I don't know if you've actually seen it, and perhaps later on we can probably show you pictures. There was a September 11th imagery of the two twin towers, and then there was the cost of the magazine was 9 cents, and when you put 9/11, it's what was September 11th. But the only thing that I question about that was the fact that it didn't have burning buildings, it didn't have the buildings crumbling down. I mean, it might have been mentioned, but yeah, I mean that could be really anything. I mean, it could be 911, which is exactly the same as 9/11. So, or they would have had to use that number to when the 9/11 happened. I mean, so again, I'm a bit on the fence with that one, and I think that was just a complete fluke of artistry rather than an actual prediction.
I agree with you, Buckets. Now, when I heard about this little prediction and stuff like that, and by the way, it was in the city of New York versus Homer Simpson. But the one thing has New York on it, and also has $9, and also has the 11, Twin Towers. But it was also in silhouette, so the background was all silhouette, but the bus wasn't. So I think that was just absolutely complete coincidence. It's one of the most disturbing coincidences that the Simpsons have predicted. In a way, I suppose. I don't believe that there's no way in the world anyone could have predicted 9/11, but that was really, really weird that that just happened to be on the front of a magazine that the Simpsons held up. And I think it was Lisa that held up the magazine at New York, $9, and next to it was the Twin Towers. So there you go, 9/11. That's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
Here's a rando question before I go to the next one. I've heard this many times, and I've read it online, and I've heard it via YouTube. Are the Simpsons creators, or the people who come up with the Simpsons cartoons every 6 months, are they actually time travelers? Do they see through time? Do they know through time? Did they travel through time? Because every prediction they've had has just been like tick, 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 spot on, spot on, spot on. It's crazy. Are they really time travelers?
I don't think they're time travelers, but I do think that they are obviously very, very good at looking at history. And we know that because the Simpsons have gone into things like the Iron Cross, where Grandpa Simpson gets the Iron Cross by accidentally pushing over the American tanks by accident. I think what they've done is they've looked at history and then just kind of applied it to their cartoons. And long and behold, history repeats itself, and it becomes true. And I think they're very, very good at that. So again, I'm not sure if they're time travelers, but I am willing to bet that probably all of them have gone through uni to study modern history or even ancient history, and then just applied that to their cartoon. And it's just repeated itself and in another form. And here, Bob's your uncle, we've got a prediction.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. It's just crazy. I think it's just nuts. Yeah, they seem to be able to predict something that happens in the future, and that people can look back on it saying, "Oh, hang on, the Simpsons actually predicted this a long time ago." There was a time when Family Guy actually started doing those predictions and stuff like that too. In Family Guy, they'd predicted the Kevin Spacey incident. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had Stewie Griffin running naked through a mall saying, "I just escaped through Kevin Spacey's basement." And next thing you know, there was an investigation regarding Kevin Spacey as well. So in real life, not just in the cartoon, but apparently there was, and something there happened with Kevin Spacey. So there you go.
Next question. Did the Simpsons eerily predict Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States of America? And we're talking about Lisa Simpson, who wore the purple outfit with the white pearls in season 11 episode 17 of Bart to the Future, and you can see how Lisa's in the White House about to go live, and she says, oh, after President Trump's financial breakdown or mess, that she's had to come in and clean it all up and become the next president. Did they eerily accurately predict Kamala Harris's not just outfit but presidency?
I think they predicted a lot of things, because the thing is, if you actually read up on Donald Trump's history, even before he was the president of the United States, he was going through all sorts of lawsuits involving bankruptcy, and he actually did go through a bankruptcy of his own. That's proven fact. He also didn't pay his workers when he built a casino that came out, and that actually closed for bankruptcy, which is crazy. How does a casino file for bankruptcy? That's like the weirdest thing ever. To kind of imagine that Donald Trump was going to head towards bankruptcy was kind of already sort of predicted anyway, and probably had a really high chance of coming true. But Donald Trump actually becoming president, I think it is eerily amazing that The Simpsons predicted that, because like it was talked about what Donald Trump did want to run, but he kept pulling out. But finally, he actually accepted and did become the president of the United States, but only under the conditions that he thought he could win. So it's amazing that he would do that. And I also think it is amazing that a Lisa Simpson type character would one day become president of the United States. And I thought, if it's not going to be Clinton, it would most likely be Kamala Harris. So maybe it hasn't come true yet, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the next president of the United States will most likely be Kamala Harris.
What are your balls in your court?
I definitely believe that Kamala Harris is going to be the next president, I think. But as far as the outfit concerns, I can't believe how eerily coincidental this is, because that Lisa Simpson actually, there was only one difference regarding the outfit that Lisa wore and also the outfit that Kamala Harris wore. That's the undershirt, the undertop. The undertop, Lisa's wearing white, and Kamala Harris is actually wearing it's either a blue or a navy blue or something, one of those colors. But that's the only thing different apart from the fact that they're different skin color as well. Kamala Harris was brown in this picture and Lisa was yellow. What would have been interesting if there is another election, or whatever, the election comes up or whatever, if Hillary Clinton becomes a female president, then the Simpsons would have predicted another one, because in the Simpsons movie, they had predicted that Hillary Clinton would be the president as well. So there you go.
They also predicted that Lisa Simpson actually got busted for corruption, which is actually what Hillary Clinton got busted for. And then she just withdrew. So, well, she lost the election, but she was under a corruption investigation. So they did actually get that right as well, which is quite interesting. So maybe they predicted both.
I think the outfits were eerily spot on. Both wearing purple, both wearing white pearls. One's the vice president of the United States of America. Now, if you notice, and one's a cartoon character. Now, if you notice, whenever there's a live press conference from Joe Biden, you now see on C-SPAN Kamala Harris standing at the podium where it says President of the United States of America. She's actually standing there, not Joe Biden. And he's actually standing back. He's actually standing back from her because she's at the podium.
Actually, I found it funny when Joe Biden won the presidency that one of the speakers accidentally said President Kamala Harris.
That was Joe Biden.
By accident.
That was Joe Biden.
So I just think it's, it's totally there. I hope Kamala Harris doesn't get busted for corruption, because I really like her. but I can definitely see this as a prediction that'll come true.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I could definitely see it happening. I can't see Joe Biden going through the 4 years without transitioning to Kamala Harris. And I think the sooner it transitions to Kamala Harris, the more stable United States you're going to have, at least for the time being.
What I find really eerie is that, as I've said, now on C-SPAN, if you watch all the stuff, especially on Facebook, you see her standing at the podium where the president's supposed to stand, and her hands are on the podium. And it kind of, as she stands tall, firm, chest out, she's got this really beautiful smile. There's a twinkle in her eye when she's touching the podium, and the sense of Lisa Simpson did that as well. And that just kind of makes me feel, this is weird. Like, how did it just, the mind boggles, like the mind boggles. Next question. Let's see. How many predictions did the Simpsons predict?
Oh, countless. There aren't enough fingers and toes for how many they've actually predicted. I'm sure you as the fact checker, Leon, could probably figure that out quicker than I could.
Fact checking during this. Okay, well, obviously we've got Richard Branson. That just recently popped up with him going into space recently. And an episode in 2008 had a billionaire, aka Richard Branson, because I've seen Richard Branson in episodes of The Simpsons. That is definitely Richard Branson in space, only for a moment, but posing with a picture up on the wall or whatever. Apart from that, yeah, they've got it right. They've got the one where Chief Quimby was on vacation and during a disaster kind of thing. The Siegfried and Roy incident as well. That's another one that they predicted, and also Apple products. They've also predicted that one as well. Simpsons have done so many predictions correctly. It's unreal.
Yeah. Speaking of, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I think, well, if there's an answer for that, and I think we won't really get an answer to that until The Simpsons actually end, and then we'll be able to count them. So I think they'll just go on predicting stuff, to be perfectly honest. I don't think there'll be an end to it.
I think it's been signed up for at least another season at least, and I think the next season of The Simpsons is going to start coming out in September. I believe it's coming out in September. Next month in the US. So we're probably going to end up starting to see new episodes of The Simpsons in maybe November.
Cool.
Here in Australia.
Speaking of Sir Richard Branson, here's one for you. Did The Simpsons accurately predict Sir Richard Branson and his travel to space?
Yes, because The Simpsons called it back in 2008, and it was like 13 years later when he decided to actually go into space, where they thought, celebrities thought that, going into orbit or going into space was cool. But imagine all that money, all those rich guys used, and imagine how much pollution they burned up into the atmosphere. They really could have done that to save the environment. Instead, they used it to show off in space, burning off how many thousands of liters of fuel, million liters of fuel, burning into our atmosphere and destroying what's left of our ozone layer.
It's funny enough, because if you look at it, speaking of Richard Branson going to space, if you look at it, there's one prediction we didn't talk about or add to, which is Elon Musk actually appeared on The Simpsons, and
yes,
and he's actually trying to get people to go to Mars. So he was actually a guest star on The Simpsons, and he came down to the street to the house in the space shuttle.
See, this is the thing about Elon Musk, which kind of, it's kind of checkered with him. So Elon Musk, for the most part, most of his inventions do try to basically save the environment. But if you're going to get a rocket to Mars, you're going to, like you mentioned before with Richard Branson, you're going to be blowing a lot of oil just to get to Mars. And, you are, basically destroying the environment. So I don't know how he's going to pull that out without having to use millions and millions of megatons of fuel, to be perfectly honest. Unless he can create a solar rocket or something. I don't know.
Also, you see Marge and Lisa in astronaut space outfits and Lisa was so eager to go to Mars, and her mom wouldn't allow it until the last minute, and then they actually backed up because they were in a fight or something, and then they made up. And Lisa was so eager to go to Mars to show how Mars could be the next planet where people could live on and habitate in and survive on. It's just again, the mind boggles how smart these writers are. You know,
Just for the record, with the Richard Branson episode that we're talking about is from season 25, called The War of Art. That was episode 15 in season 25. But there was only a moment where it shows him floating in space, admiring a portrait, admiring a picture of on the side of one of the spacecrafts that he was on. So there you go.
how funny. Next question. Did the Simpsons eerily predict Donald John Trump as the president of the United States of America? Because I think it's one of the episodes or one of the seasons where you see Donald Trump coming down the escalators with Melania, and Homer's right behind him. And if you put a side by side video of that with him actually coming down the escalators with Melania, with his fans, when he was planning on becoming the next president, campaigning, if you put them side by side, they're actually quite eerily the same image.
I still believe that particular image was seen from an actual news article or news cast, I should say. And what the Simpsons have just done is just cleverly drawn it and put it on television. Now, when it was actually drawn from when it was aired, I don't really know that, but I suspect it was about the same time that Donald Trump was campaigning. So I think that was one that wasn't predicted. But if anything was predicted about that one scene, it was the fascination over Donald Trump's hair, which was, is it fake? Is it real? Is he just wearing a fake toupee all this time? And here you have Homer Simpson being completely obsessed with Donald Trump's hair. And that was something which actually did happen. That was a real news article and a real rumor going around, which was, if we can't basically trust someone who lies about their hair, how can we trust them at all? So
I think that one come about, that particular one with Homer being obsessed about Donald Trump's hair was an ad. Actually, it wasn't an ad, but it was something that I saw, and I'd seen something like this on the news where his hair was blowing, and it looked like it was a toupee, and it was just like to fly off and stuff like that. And I remember an ad on Fox 8 in Australia a while back. I think it might have been on the Celebrity Apprentice, where it actually had the hair lifting up, and it looked like it was about to lift right off. And someone sent a cease and desist letter on that one, so Fox 8 stopped doing that particular ad. If I had the ad, I'd show it to you.
Actually, speaking of the hair coming off, there is, if you look at go to Google, if you can fact check it, Donald Trump's hair or wig about to fly off, and you can see him standing, and the wind's so strong that when you see it lifting, you can see his bald head underneath it. And he's always been claiming, it's my hair, it's my hair, it's my hair. No, it's not your hair. And the way they managed to stick it onto his head, when the glue wears off, it actually comes off.
Well, I think it's funny that when Donald Trump went on a campaign and there was a child that actually asked, is your hair actually real? And Donald Trump went up to the child and said, come here, little boy, does it feel real? And he goes, yeah, well, that means it's real. And gave it back to his parents.
Because there was an episode on Jimmy Kimmel where Jimmy Kimmel asked him about his hair, and Donald Trump said, well, why don't you test it out? And he actually messed up his hair, and Donald Trump was smiling. But afterwards, Donald Trump actually tweeted some nasty stuff about, not Jimmy Kimmel, sorry, Jimmy Fallon. And he tweeted some stuff about Jimmy Fallon. He wasn't pleased about it, how he ruined his hair. But excuse me, your hair's not real. It's a wig. We all know. And you can see him in the Google picture. Seriously, you can see him.
I remember seeing something on David Letterman. I think it might have been. And David Letterman goes, well, I know it's not a hairpiece, but I seriously don't know what it is.
All I remember about The Simpsons, I remember when Homer Simpson's actually got hair, you remember that episode where he put the stuff on him?
Yeah.
and
Oh, is it Demoxenil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it called Demoxenil?
Or something. I don't know. Hairspray, you can call it. I don't know. But
Gonna find Demoxenil. Would have been a very, very early episode of The Simpsons. These days, it's called Advanced Hair in Australia.
yes. So I wouldn't. I just remember that bit that there was someone in the audience that basically when Homer was trying to do his speech about trying to save money in a power plant, and basically no one took him seriously because he didn't have hair. So I wonder if that's kind of Donald Trump saw that and thought, I'd better actually get some advanced hair. Yeah. If anyone's going to take me seriously.
Next question.
Go on.
Next question. Did the Simpsons early predict Siegfried and Roy's tiger actually attacking Siegfried?
You know what? I can actually see that actually happening. I can actually see that as a prediction, because it did actually happen. They did actually get attacked, and that was a real story. And they tried to explain it. Well, what you're forgetting is they're two real animals that have killer instincts, and if you mistreat these animals, they will come after you. So that wasn't really hard to basically see. So I would say that, yeah, The Simpsons totally predicted that one for sure.
Yeah, they absolutely did predict that, because that particular episode that we're talking about happened in season 5 of The Simpsons. That was back in 1993, and the incident happened 10 years later in 2003, where Roy Horn got several injuries after after being mauled by a tiger.
Yeah. So
in a hotel, I believe it happened in a hotel and
Vegas,
casino.
yeah.
So they predicted that one. So they predicted that one as well.
Yep.
yeah,
Again, the mind boggle.
the mind boggles.
Next question. Was it spot on that The Simpsons predicted the horse meat issue of 2013 when they found that in the beef or meat products there was a DNA of horse in it? And
Yeah, that happened all over the world. So that didn't just happen in America. That happened in the UK, and it also happened in Australia, where beef products like lasagna, were found to have horse meat in them. So yes, they absolutely predicted that one. That one is absolutely predicted. What do you got to say about that, Leon?
Absolutely, they did predict that, because that scandal really started coming up around 2013. And I believe it was Lunch Lady Doris was talking about the horse meat, and it wasn't really horse meat. It was something different. Oh, dear.
Actually, and the funny thing about that is that in my school, I went to a school called St. Charles, right? And they sold lasagnas in school. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the students accidentally ate horse meat. I just wouldn't be surprised about that, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, moving on.
next question. We all know the issue of Ted Cruz, Cancun cruise, going on a vacation with his family to, I think, Hawaii or somewhere nearby, leaving Texas freezing cold. And The Simpsons early predicted that by having Mayor Joe Quimby vacationing in the Bahamas, during a live press conference, half suit, half shorts, with the picture of the Oval Office behind him, and the Jamaican Rasta dude banging on the silver drums. And he's like, hey, you get that drum out of the mayor's office. And you kind of have to give it up to The Simpsons, because that pretty much has Ted Cruz on it.
I remember seeing that particular thing on The Simpsons. That was just hilarious. You know, one thing about their podium, right? The one thing about The Simpsons podium, the slogan underneath has "Corruptus in Extremis." Side note for you guys right there.
Oh, awesome. That is fantastic. You gotta love that.
Because it's funny how you have Ted Cruz, who's been crucified all over Twitter, all over the news about him leaving with his wife and daughters on a vacation, and he kind of was forced to come back because the Texas was freezing cold. There was no electricity. Well, he was living it up on vacation, and I think having Mayor Joe Quimby has been corrupt. And you can tell Mayor Joe Quimby isn't a Democrat; he's very Republican. And I kind of has the same feel of Ted Cruz.
Yes, I can see him as a Ted Cruz type character.
And you can call him Cancun Quimby.
I'm just wondering, JFK, he was
Democrat.
Was he Democrat or Republican?
Democrat.
Because I always think that Mayor Quimby is very much like JFK in a lot of ways. He's got the same voice as him anyway.
Yeah.
You're a Catsby, sir.
Next question. Fox being owned by Disney. Another perfect home run slide with the Simpsons accurately and eerily predicting Fox being bought by Disney.
This is a blink and you'll miss it moment from 1998. It was when you dish upon a star, which was in season 10.
That's the one.
Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company. I thought that was so far. Actually, I believe that I actually heard this later. I believe I've heard that there had been talks for a long time before 20th Century Fox was gobbled up by Disney, but there was talk at the time that there was those kind of negotiations going on. So that's why the Simpsons kind of snuck that one in as a joke. Who would have imagined 10 to 12 years later or 20 years later that being accurate? There you go. So that was when you dish upon a star. This was when, I think this was an episode with Alec Baldwin in it or something like that. Alec Baldwin, I can't remember the other Baldwin. It was definitely Kim Basinger. I think might have been Kim Basinger at the time, and also had Ron Howard in it as well. So there you go.
Last question of the night is, did the Simpsons early predict Guitar Hero, the game? Because as you know, there was an episode where Homer gets drunk, he falls asleep in taxi cab. We used to remember that TV show where they confess in the taxi cab, and he talks about his family. He says some nasty things, and Marge and the kids take him to the middle of nowhere, and then he ends up at guitar camp with the Rolling Stones, and then they have what's it called? One of them when people get injured, and they do another show. What's it called?
I remember that one. The episode that we're talking about here is how I spent my Stromo vacation. This was from season 14, where Homer got really drunk. Actually, what happened is Mo refused to give him a beer. So what he did is he went to the highest peak of Springfield, took a big deeper fresh air, because obviously being at a higher altitude, the air is going to be a hell of a lot thinner up there. So he takes some breath and he's like, Then he goes to a blood bank, donates some blood. He's completely wasted. And then Homer strolls into Moe's, drunk as, even though he hadn't been drunk. And he took one sip of Homer took one sip of beer, and then Moe determined that he was too drunk to actually do anything. So they called a taxi. So Homer went in the taxi and the taxi driver goes, "Where to, sir?" And he goes, "Moe's Tavern." Now he's on TV on was it Taxi Cab Confessionals or something like that.
Those were popular shows. That was a popular show back in our day. I enjoyed that.
Taxi Cab Confessions.
Yeah.
And also they did inadvertently predict it, because Guitar Hero would end up coming out 3 years later as a game called Guitar Hero on the Xbox and the PlayStation. So they did kind of predict that 3 years before it happened. Guitar Hero.
So, last question is, will the Simpsons keep predicting right into the future?
Oh, I think they will, because they're smart writers. They're not idiots. And I think that if they've already predicted like a string of stuff already. And of course, I think a lot of people get inspired by The Simpsons, because The Simpsons is just such a an American icon that everyone watches it, even today. I mean, I've been watching it since its first episode. So, people get inspired by it. They, for maybe the better or the worse. So I think that, there's a lot of predicting left to go for The Simpsons. And because what's the other episode with where basically Lisa's husband in the future
Oh yes, smartwatch.
had a smartwatch.
Smartwatch.
Yes. Well, that was The Simpsons predicted that first. So based off that one thing, I think maybe Apple were inspired by The Simpsons, even though The Simpsons will never get any royalties for that. Other inventors will look at stuff that The Simpsons will do and then start building stuff because there's always a need for that. So I think that the Simpsons will continue to predict stuff as they write more episodes. Definitely.
And the episode that you're thinking of there with Lisa's fiance talking into his phone, that was from Lisa's wedding back in 1995. That was actually from season 6. So yeah, it looked far-fetched at the time, but you can actually now, with the iWatches, you can actually talk. I've seen my brother, because my brother's got an iWatch as well. I've got an iWatch as well, but I don't talk into it. I don't consider myself like what's his name, Maxwell Smart from Get Smart or anything, or Mr. Bean or James Bond or something like that. That's the first name. They're the first names that come to mind when I think of someone talking into their phone. I'm thinking more like James Bond, not I can't remember Lisa's fiance's name, but anyway,
let's just leave it at that.
Yes.
Right.
But I reckon they're going to predict. I reckon there's going to be a lot more stuff that comes out in the near future, and all of a sudden they'll be like, The Simpsons predicted that this when back then, and all that sort of stuff. The Simpsons watch was back in 1995. So there you go.
Actually, they also predicted the robots who look like humans as well. When they cried, their face melted and they became robots again. And
that was from the, I believe.
Yeah, that was from the same episode. And I think they would be smart to correctly predict that, because that's what I feel will happen in the future. We'll see robots as humans who look like us, act like us, behave like us.
Well, technically, they've already got that in Japan. They have sex robots that actually pretty much do that. They look like us. They, whatever. But I don't know to the point where they're walking, talking beings walking around the house. But look, they're trying to make them as humanistic as possible. So I don't think it's completely out of there. I'm sure there's going to be some genius Japanese person that's going to invent one of those things one day. So it's not out of the question.
Final thoughts?
I think as far as the robots is concerned, I believe Futurama also had a crack at that as well. They actually created a version of a celebrity as a robot with human feelings and stuff like that. I think Futurama actually came up with that one.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please don't forget to subscribe and like our videos and leave comments. We are on Facebook as well as Twitter, twitter.com/catspacepodcast. Let us know if you'd like to talk about some stuff, and we will brainstorm it and mention it for you and give you a shout out. Thank you to Leon for joining us tonight. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to Bucket. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Harry Bucket.
Bye.
Bye.